Welcome to the 97 Republic YouTube channel, where I react to UFC news and live events. So I kindly ask that you hit the like button and the subscribe button, as that will really help this channel grow. And to ensure that you don't skip a beat, feel free to click the notification bell. That way you can guarantee that you don't miss any of the action. I really hope you enjoy this. Ranking the top 5 knockouts of fighters that are competing on the main card of UFC Fight Night, Erceg versus Moreno. And in all honesty, my favorite part of the week, my favorite series, due to the fact that there's some action, there's some highlights, knockouts, a little bit of a backstory. So if you're new to this series, to this segment, what I do is I take every fighter on the main card, every fighter that's competing on the main card of UFC Fight Night, whichever fight night it is, and I take their best knockout. Now the knockout has to be inside of the UFC, has to be an official UFC fight, so outside of the organization it doesn't count. And Dana White's Contender Series knockouts, they don't count either. So I take every fighter's top knockout, they only get one, and then I basically just rank them. It's quite simple. So at number 5, starting this list, Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. Now at the time it was Bobby Green, obviously now it is King Henry VIII Green. December 17, 2022, after Drew Dober lost to both Islam Makhachev and Brad Riddell, Drew Dober went on a 3-fight winning streak, beating the likes of Terrence McKinney by a knockout, beating the likes of Rafael Alves by a knockout, and in that third fight of his 3-fight winning streak fought Bobby Green. And in that fight, Bobby Green was quite comfortable due to the fact that he was basically dominating the fight up until that point. If you look at the strikes landed, it was at that point it was like 76-34. Bobby was getting the better exchanges with regards to striking, but in the second round, Drew Dober uncorked his coveted left hand and knocked Bobby Green out, gave him a follow-up shot just for good measure, giving him the number 5 spot on this list. In typical Drew Dober fashion, no regard for his own health, stood in the pocket even prior to knocking out Bobby Green, ate one of his shots, decided he's just gonna stand there and continuously swing and his left hand will hit the spot. And it did. It hit it flush, knocking out Bobby Green. Drew Dober versus Bobby Green, number 5 on this list. Then at number 4, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault, June 29, 2024. Now Joe Pyfer started on Dana White's Contender Series, had 2 appearances where he lost his first fight on Dana White's Contender Series but ended up winning his second fight, therefore receiving a UFC contract. And in his first 3 fights inside of the UFC, he ended up winning all 3 of them by stoppage. An impressive display, but then in his 4th fight, ended up losing to Jack Hermanson, and wanting to make amends, got scheduled to fight Marc-Andre Barriault on June 29, 2024, and in the very first minute of the first round, after constantly just pressing forward, having Barriault on the back foot, he rang his bell with an overhand right, had Barriault stunned, had Barriault basically just move backwards and cover up against the fence where Joe Pyfer decided he was going to tee off, and caught him once again with almost the exact same shot, this time not ringing his bell, blasting his door off. And we saw Marc-Andre Barriault get knocked out face down on the canvas. It is way worse. If you see someone get knocked out and they're on their back, it doesn't look that bad. However, when they're knocked out and their face down on the canvas, it looks like their soul left their body. And it looked like the same thing happened with Marc-Andre Barriault. A devastating right hand that landed twice and put an end to this fight. And been wanting to make this joke, and it's probably gonna be horrible. Marc-Andre Barriault paid the Pyfer, and he got knocked out. Therefore, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault number 4 on this list. Then at number 3, Steve Erceg versus Matt Schnell. Now what is insane is the fact that we have a flyweight on this list of top knockouts, and it's warranted. March 2nd, 2024, what was already an impressive start to Steve Erceg's UFC career, winning his first 2 fights within the UFC, being unbeaten, having a winning streak of 10 fights, wanted to extend that winning streak, wanted to improve, keep the ball rolling inside of the UFC, was scheduled to fight Matt Schnell on March 2nd, 2024, and in the first 30 seconds of the second round, Steve Erceg caught Matt with as flush as a left hook that you could possibly get. Caught him flush, knocked him out clean, a walk-off knockout in the flyweight division. Insane, it is insane. Basically caught him, it sounded like a hit. If you ever played any shooting game ever, sounded like 2 hit markers, where it basically sounded like, listen to this. Now, depending on who you rooted for Barriault was prior, and I mean prior, seconds prior to getting knocked out, Dean Thomas was in commentary, and his piece of advice for Matt was that Matt had to enter the void, enter the pocket, fight at a close range, because he was getting pieced up whenever they were at distance. He was at the end of Steve's shots, and Dean advised, or his piece of advice for Matt was that Matt had to basically enter the pocket. And the very first chance Matt got, he got knocked out of the park. He got sent home. Tough luck, as fate intended. Tough luck. Steve Erceg getting the knockout victory over Matt Schnell, therefore being number 3 on this list. At number 2 on this list, Kelvin Gastelum versus Michael Bisping, November 25th, 2017. Now before I elaborate, just want to say that I am a big Michael Bisping fan. Seeing this was a little bit unsettling. Not a good visual, but it has to be on this list. And also this serves as a testament to how long Kelvin Gastelum has been fighting inside of the UFC and has had good victories within the UFC. Now, 2016 was a good year for Kelvin Gastelum. Ended up beating Tim Kennedy and Johnny Hendricks in 2016. However, 2017 was somewhat of the polar opposite, due to the fact that he ended up beating Vitor Belfort, but the result got overturned to a no contest, and then also ended up losing to Chris Weidman. But at least for Kelvin Gastelum, ended up finishing 2017 on a high. Fought Michael Bisping on November 25th, 2017, and in the first round, in the 3rd minute of the first round, caught Michael Bisping with one of those straight lefts, sent him to the canvas. Now the reason why this is number 2 on this list is due to what you will see next. The follow-up shots was, it looked like Michael's head was a basketball, and it just continuously bounced off of the canvas. That is why it is number 2 on this list. Tough visuals, unsettling visuals, especially if you enjoy Michael Bisping, if you enjoyed his fights, his commentary. Yeah, Kelvin Gastelum uncorked a nasty left hand, sent Michael to the canvas, and then just followed up with hellacious ground and pound. Referee stepped in. It could have been earlier, to be honest, but that is why Kelvin Gastelum's knockout win over Michael Bisping is number 2 on this list. Then at number 1, Manuel Torres versus Nicholas Motta, June 17, 2023. Now, Manuel Torres fought on Dana White's Contender Series 2021. Ended up winning by a first round knockout and received the UFC contract. Then in his first fight inside the UFC, sealed his opponent's fate by doing and winning the fight in the exact same manner, first round knockout. Then in his second fight, you guessed it, the exact same thing happened. Now, before I go into it, have you ever seen a knockout where immediately after seeing said knockout, you felt like you have an inherent obligation to pick up your cell phone and call the police and report an assault? Because that is what this was. This could have been a felony. And if you haven't, well, look no further, because in the first round, on June 17, 2023, in the first round, Manuel Torres knocked out Nicholas Motta with one of the nastiest elbows you will ever see in your life. This was not an elbow, this was a hellbow. And you know what's next.
You can hit hard like that, but I can hit way harder like that. Fucking boom!
After seeing this knockout, I felt like I wanted to look away, but at the same time I wanted to see whether Nicholas Motta is still here. It was devastating. And yeah, I don't feel like I have to explain or validate my opinion on why this is number one. It was as clean of an elbow as you will ever see in your life. And something I noticed is, apart from Joe Pyfer, every single knockout on this list was with the left hand, and in Manuel's case the left elbow. But yeah, just something I picked up on. Now let me know in the comment section. I don't think there's a lot of objection with regards to the fact that this is number one, but if there is, let me know in the comment section. And if I maybe swapped or should swap any one of these, let me know. I would really appreciate it. Enjoy UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg.